And I have 601. I have 21 people that have signed on so far. So we still don't have the names of all of our presidents, president-elects, but I think with the number that we have, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, if you didn't already hear it, if you have the ability to put in your club name next to your name, that would be helpful. And I'm going to go through a list of information that I have for you to kind of help you get ready. It probably will help everybody to hear me better if you're muted while I go through it, but please feel free if you have a question to unmute yourself and just ask your question. If that gets to where it's not working well, then we'll change the way we do it. But at this point, if anybody wants clarification while I'm going through this, just ask your question. And with that, I'll get started. Thank you all for being here. In this virtual world, it's really a lot harder to prepare. When I served as president years ago, just being able to get in the same room with the other president-elects at the time to get to know each other was helpful. And since we don't have that ability, maybe we can at least start connecting through the faces. There's a lot of training that you're going to start seeing. To get a heads up, if you go into Rotary.org, into My Rotary, you'll be able to sign in and see a tab that's called the Learning and Reference tab. And under it, you'll see an option to see learning by role. And you can go into that, select the president, club president, and start being exposed to some of this information to help you with the training. And so I want to give at the same time a pitch for all of you to go into My Rotary if you haven't already set up your account. If you don't already have an account that you've gone into, probably whatever email you were using when you became a Rotarian is what they're going to know you as. And if for some reason you've changed email because you've changed employers or what have you, you're going to have to coordinate with your club to get that email updated. But it would be great if all of you would try to at least sign in the next week if you haven't already, so that you can know if that's working for you, because you'll find that it's going to be a great resource. They've really added a lot of information to it. So try to sign in, and if you have any issues, your club may be able to straighten it out, and if they can't, then contact myself or my aide, John Van Buren, that you see on this call, and we'll figure out an answer for you. The next thing that I wanted to let you know is, for the first time for our district, for sure, PETS is going to be held virtually, because at the time we were going to need to start making commitments to the hotel, and there were so many unknowns as to what legally, how many people legally we would be able to include, and based on the current limitations, we couldn't include the normal number of people that typically go to PETS. It was decided to just do it virtual because we know we can do that. And so it will be, instead of just the primarily Friday and Saturday, a little bit of Thursday evening and Sunday morning that you may have heard about, or if you went last year, you were accustomed to. This year, it will start on Monday, February 22nd, and technically go all the way through Sunday, February 28th. Now, timing is going to be different because we all get a little brain cells not operating fully, sitting in on too many Zoom meetings, and because we know a lot of people have a job that they need to give some time to during this week. The sessions, for the most part, are going to be from about 6 6:30 to 8:30 to 9, depending on which night it is. So the good thing about pets is you shouldn't have to be able to take time away from your job this year. That's a plus. There's always pluses and minuses when we have to do things different. Saturday session, however, is expected to start, I believe, around 8-ish and go until around 1:30. After that, you would be free for the rest of Saturday. All president-elects must attend. So I just want to emphasize that so that you can get those dates on your calendar now. The good news is because we don't have to worry about booking hotels, meeting space, food for service, we are going to save some money. Registration will only be $50 this year instead of the $350 to $400 that it's cost in the past to attend pets. So the cost is right this time. And perhaps we can get more clubs to not just bring their incoming president, but bring the president that will follow. So, as you as president-elects now also encourage your nominees to come as well, because some of these things, you hear them and it kind of makes sense, but then when you go through it a second time and you've had time to dwell on it, it makes a lot more sense. So definitely I encourage not just you to go, it's kind of a requirement of presidency for you to go, but encourage the presidents that will follow you to go, because it will help in running your club. They understand what you're going through and may be able to lend a hand and so forth. And it helps them in their planning as well. So with that said, the way PETS has worked in the past is that on the Friday morning, the district was able to talk about things going on in the district. We were able to give good background information on what you need to get district grants, how to help with your membership. You could hear from our membership chair. All these things that normally happened in the district time, the time they're making available for us to handle that type of district, non-chapter related in the book that we have to train through, training is for Sunday morning. I don't think we will get our best participation on a Sunday morning, and therefore I would like to do our district related training either continuing the Saturday, once you finish at 1:30, maybe have a session from 2 to 5, and the things that we would normally do with the district can be done there. The other alternative is the previous Saturday, which would be I think February 20th, we could have a session that morning. And I want to arrange that however it works best for all of our president-elects. I think we'll be able to see the information that you drop into the chat box and tally it. So if all of you would just, if you have a preference to do the district associated training, either the afternoon of February 27th, when you're already kind of tied up with pets, or the week before, just drop your preference into the chat box. Alex, I think I see that you have a question.
Two questions now. The first question, what are the two options again you want us to vote on?
Either doing the about 3 hours of district related training. This usually comes on Friday morning at PETS for anyone who's been to PETS before. The only time they're making available to us is Sunday morning. And I have my doubts that our attendance would be as good as if we either did it Saturday afternoon from about 2 to 5 on February 27th. That's the same day that you're already involved in pet training that morning, or a week earlier, Saturday, February 20th,
Okay,
from about 9 to 12, something like that.
so the 20th or the 27th, that was my
Correct.
first question. And then
Correct.
my
And if you just drop your preference into the chat box, we will, that'll give us a better idea for our planning.
Then my other question was, I know for this year, we didn't have a district assembly. Will you have a district assembly?
So I'm getting to that. We actually, yeah, I will get to that. So just hold on to your question. Actually, you just gave me the segue because that was the next thing on my list. I was afraid if I got out of order, I'd skip something. So because you're not having the advantage to meet each other at PETS as you normally would, my hope is that by having district assembly a little bit later than we normally have it, usually it's in March, that maybe we'll have a better chance of being able to hold this in person. So I tentatively am saving the date of April 17th. That gives us a little bit more time. Hopefully the restrictions will allow us to meet. Right now, I'm working with John Van Buren to get a site. We've talked to a couple of places. We haven't committed to anything yet. We're looking for a space that is large, larger than we would normally have in case we do need to socially distance in there. But yes, if you would just hold the date for April 17th, I'm thinking it's probably going to run from about 8:30 in the morning until 1:30-ish, 2 in the afternoon on that Saturday. Again, that is so that we can have some time for you to meet each other, since previously you won't have had that opportunity. And hopefully it'll all work out to where we're in person. But that is the target date right now. Things can change, but just mark your calendar. Another thing that I want to let you know about, if you haven't already attended any of our roundtables for the district, this is a meeting that happens once a month on Saturdays. Historically, they've been the second Saturday of the month from 10 a.m. until noon. And our president-elects, our assistant governors, our other district leadership usually all come together so that we can discuss the progress we're making on different things that might be going on. We can also sometimes have some training there, for instance, on membership, how to encourage new members to your club, maybe talk about district grants and what the requirements are for you to get a district grant. So sometimes it involves training. I encourage you to start attending those roundtables now, because it starts giving you a taste for what you're going to encounter next year and help you to be better prepared. I also want to let you know that probably next year, those roundtables are going to be the third Saturday of the month instead of the second Saturday. The meetings have been virtual. John Van Buren, would you help me remember to ask Pam to start sending those invites for this year's to our president-elects, not just our presidents. And so you'll have all the information to sign in for it. But this year they are happening virtual because that's the way we need it to be. We're working on a location for next year. When they were in person, we were on the verge of outgrowing, and it was pretty tight quarters where we had been meeting. And because of COVID and not knowing what things are going to be like, we're looking for another location, hopefully at the same great price that we've had before, which was zero cost. Clubs would bring food and coffee, but we weren't having to pay for the use of the room. We have not found a good location yet at no cost. If any of you work in a building that has a conference room that would be open to hosting about 70 of us, once a month on a Saturday morning. I'd love to know about it. Like I said, we'd like to get something at no cost like we've had in the past, but if we can't get that, then we want to see what our best rates are for a good central location. Next thing I want to talk about is governor visits. So in the past, the district governor, and from about July through October, has attended every club and given their recap of what is going on in Rotary International, period, as well as locally in the district. What of the goals that you should really be trying to work on? And usually at that point in time, they visit with your board so that they can understand better what's going on in your own clubs. And if you're having any challenges that you want to discuss, they hear from that. As I prepare for next year, Rotary International has asked me what type of travel I expect to have for these visits, and what they're encouraging all the incoming governors to do, to the extent that it's possible, is make use of Zoom. Right now, some of the clubs are only meeting in Zoom, some are meeting in person, and some are doing kind of a hybrid. Hopefully by next July, people can meet in person yet. And if you attended PETS back in March, I had a survey where I asked what your preference was for meeting, because it is, now that everybody's learned a little bit more with technology, it is very possible to be able to pre-record these messages, since essentially the message itself is the same for all 62 clubs, and have that available for you to show to your members, and therefore use the governor's time in a different way. For instance, and scheduling, you know, we can only do so much with scheduling, but hopefully if you're wanting the governor attending one of your big fundraisers or one of your big community events, that's all a possibility. If we were doing something like a filming of a message, then perhaps there could even be a couple of updates later in the year in a message too. Those are all just ideas I'm throwing out. Again, if you would use the chat box, if you think that your members really want that in-person visit, if health conditions allow for it, let me know that. If you think they're open to Zoom, let me know that. Some of the other things that have been talked about is joint meetings when you have several clubs located close to each other. The challenge there always becomes, which meeting time are you going to use? And I'm thinking if something like that was done using a neutral meeting time, which might be a Saturday morning, not the regular meeting time for any of the clubs. Those are just ideas that I'm throwing out. Sorry, I have a cuckoo clock. Those are just some ideas that I'm throwing out that I really would like your feedback. If your answer is too long to put in the chat box, send me an email. My email is mduplant@gmail.com. You're welcome to send me a message there. John Van Buren, if you don't mind, maybe adding my email to the chat box, everybody can see it. But any thoughts that you have on this, just send me a message. And I want to do what is most effective for all of the clubs. If there was some sort of, if I didn't attend every club in person and we did some sort of recorded video, then I would still want to be able to have the chance to interact. And the conversations that usually happens with the board, like what are your projects? What type of funds do you raise in these projects? How many people do you serve in these projects? All of that type of information that's usually shared, I would have a one-page summary so that you could fill that out, and then we could do some sort of Zoom session that would not take so much time for everybody. Maybe have a 30-minute Zoom session with your board to talk about just the highlights of what you'd like to discuss or like input on, or want to talk about concerns on. So let's see if there's anything else I need to cover relating to governor visits. I think I've covered all of that. District conference. Again, something that I talked about last year at PETS, for those of you who were able to attend, was I had high hopes to have a really exciting district conference trip. It's been about, by the time our year comes up for district conference, it will have been nearly 5 years since we had the fantastic cruise that was basically a week-long district conference. And for those of you who weren't on it, the days that we were at sea, we held our meetings, and the rest of the time you were able, when we were at port, to either go out and enjoy yourself or work on some projects that had already been set up in advance. So the way the world has changed in the last few months, there is no way I'm going to ask anybody to go on a cruise or to start making a commitment on that. So at this point, I do think that our conference, which would happen in the spring of April, or in the spring, probably April of 2022, it's towards the end of our year. It's probably going to be a day and a half here in this area. I'm hoping to have some sort of reception on Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and our sessions all day Saturday, most of the day on Saturday. Don't have the place yet. We're working on some ideas. If you have some ideas, I'd love to hear them. If there are things that you want covered, I'd love to hear that too. People have asked, what's the difference between assembly and conference? So assembly, you usually have prior to taking your office as president, and it's a good training session. Conference is something that you attend towards the end of your year as president, and it really is celebrating all the good things that were accomplished by the individual clubs, the district, and having, there'll be presentations there, but they're not the dig in deep, you know, how to build new membership type things. They're more bigger picture of Rotary International. So district conference is still being worked out, but I can tell you now, where I couldn't back in March, that it will be local. It will definitely be local. Other things that I wanted to bring up to you, again, I already talked about log into My Rotary. Be sure you have your account set up. You should, I think this should be working for you. If it's not, let me know. But you should be able to start entering your goals. It really is important that you enter your goals. I know a lot of clubs put them on paper, talk about them with their boards and their members, but if you don't put it into My Rotary, then from a bigger planning perspective, we don't really know what the sum advantage of everybody, of what everybody is working on, is likely to be. Also, new requirements now for district grants do require that you put in goals, in addition to get someone in your club getting the district grant training. So keep that in mind. John Curtis, do you know when that district grant training is scheduled? You're muted right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, November, I think it's the 21st of November.
November 21st.
Yeah.
So in order for you to, go ahead.
It's meant to follow a roundtable, so it would be on the Saturday of the roundtable.
Second Saturday
Yeah.
in November, probably starting around noonish or so.
Yeah, right after the roundtable.
So be aware if you plan on receiving applying for a district grant, have a project that you plan on using that for next year during your year, you should have somebody trained at this program in November. Perhaps we'll be able to have another program later, but it really would be great if you would already start getting people trained up this November. This is technically when you're supposed to get that training for next year.
And you need to get your grant, your goals in for the foundation as well. That's part of the requirement.
Right, right. So get comfortable with My Rotary. And there is a place, when you go in, you'll be able to see the goals of your current president, but you should be able to start inputting. If your name has been turned in to Rotary International, I believe you should be able to start inputting goals. One other thing that I want to remind you of is Rotary International at the end of our year, that's June of 2022, will be held in Houston. So this is the closest one's been to us since around 2001 when it was in San Antonio. So this is a fantastic opportunity for not only you to go and experience an international convention, but also encourage as many of your members to do so as well. Start planning for that now. You will change the way you think about Rotary after being to a convention. There's likely to be 28,000 people there all across the world. Yes, I think by 2022, we can actually be in person again. And from the presentations that are given to the House of Friendship, it is absolutely enlightening about all the things that Rotary is doing across the world. So mark your calendar, start thinking about going to that, and also promoting it within your clubs all throughout your year. Final thing that I wanted to say is we have World Polio Day coming up October 24th. That's 4 days from now. So I encourage all of you to participate by supporting our Polio Now. Contribute if you haven't already, and if you already have, maybe contribute some more. Those are all the prepared comments that I have, but if there's anything anyone would like to discuss, if you have any concerns, want more information, we'll take questions. I want to try to prevent everybody from talking at one time. So if you'd either hold up your hand and my aide will help me. I only have 9 people on a screen at a time, so he'll help me identify who wants to speak, or you might be able to hold up the little chat hand, if not your physical hand. John Curtis, I see you already.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention in relation to the international convention, how great they are in terms of giving you a real kickstart to your year as a Rotary president. But the thing is, you need to register early, because there'll be so many hotel spaces, hotels taken up there, that if you don't do it early, you can end up miles from where all the action is. So when you have a chance to sign up to register, do it, because that'll allow you to be in a lot closer to where the action is.
That sign up period should probably open up about mid-June of 21. Usually as once the conference a year ahead starts, you can start registering at a discount and booking your hotel as well. So
Yeah.
This year, June of 21, our convention is supposed to be in Taipei, Taiwan. Hopefully it will happen in person, but we don't know. But even if it goes virtual again, when that virtual convention or that live convention, whichever one happens, opens up, then you should be able to start registering for the next year.
Yeah.
And I was so concentrated on going through all the things I wanted to talk about. I didn't really do introductions of some of the other leadership that we have on. So I want to, first of all, introduce Howard Templin. He will be district governor the year following me. And then John Curtis, who many of you may already know as being chair of our district grants. Following Howard, John Curtis will move in as our district governor. So he's our district governor nominee designate is his title right now, which sometimes it's difficult to get all out in one breath. Beverly Grogan, I know I've seen her logged on. Beverly is our immediate past district governor. She did a phenomenal job last year, and so we're very happy she could join us. In addition to that, she's actually attending in a different role. Beverly will serve as our trainer next year. So she's very interested in hearing all of your thoughts, your concerns, what things you feel a little uncomfortable about because you don't totally understand yet, what things you think you have a good handle on, so that she can plan our training accordingly. I'm going to flip through here and see if there's anybody else other than our president-elects that I need to be sure to introduce. I think I've covered everybody. So with that, are there any questions that any of you have? Diane, I see you. Yes, good.
Have on November 21st, I have a conflict at 2 o'clock and have for a while. Do we think that that session will be over by 2 o'clock?
So
Well, one
if you're
thing
talking
you should-
November, I think that would be November 14th.
Did you say?
Yeah.
I thought it was the 21st.
I said the 21st, and
I'm sorry.
you can get the exact date on the district website if I'm off on that. But it isn't important specifically that you go, Diane. It's important that your club attend. So if
Okay.
you can't go, you need to have someone else go to represent the club.
So, and about how long does it last, John? Just out of curiosity.
It'll be a couple of hours. It won't be more than a couple of hours anyway.
And I do want to reemphasize what John just said. It does not have to be you as a PE. In fact, you really should be selecting someone to chair your program with your district grants, and preferably it would be that person, the person who's going to actually be filling out the grant application, following up with the information of how those funds were spent. That would be the best choice of who to attend, but it needs to be somebody from your club. Alex, I see you have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, Diane, were you through?
I'm done. Oh yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. Alex, I see you have a question.
It's probably for John about, gosh, maybe January, February, I went through the full online grant administration seminar. So would that qualify? Because as you know, that's like about a 10-hour event.
Yeah, that qualifies you for this current year, but what you're doing by going in this coming autumn is qualifying for next year.
So the one in a
yes.
year from now.
Yeah,
So
you would have to go and qualify each year, to be so that you can put your grant applications in.
Alex, it's just like even if you went to PETS before, if you serve a second term as president, you get to go to PETS again.
Yeah, but this grant
Things change. That's why that requirement is there. There are some things that will change, and so you get to attend again.
Well, John,
You get to have the pleasure of attending again.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
if anybody has done online seminar, John will tell you about 10 times more than what his seminar is going to be, because it's for the global grant process and it's very thorough.
You do need to attend for that specifically if you're going to do a global grant. I mean, you're going to get a lot out of it for if that's your interest.
So after this, after today, we'll be sending out in a few days an email recapping everything that we talked about. And I saw a question flash by asking about RILA, how to get information on that. And then we would need clarification on this grant training. We will add information about both of those to the email I send to all of you. And any other questions? I'm gonna go through the screens and see if I see anybody else.
Max, this is
Uh-huh.
Calvin. Hi, sorry.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw my hand.
I did, thank you.
So just to clarify, if we just installed a couple of grant chairs for our local club, I will follow up with them. But my understanding is I thought they just went through some training. So, but this one, definitely we need to have those same individuals join this one for the following year, correct?
Yeah, they may
Sorry.
have gone in the spring to
Okay.
cover this year, but they need to go in a couple of weeks in November.
And you just said that, so I apologize. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes
no,
sense.
no, that's okay.
Okay.
I don't catch everything the first time I hear it, and so I often have to hear things several times.
That makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I just looked at my certificate. I ended it on July 23rd. So that's this Rotary year. So I'm qualified, right? For this year.
I'll
For
speak to
the
you offline about that,
current
Alex.
year.
Because this
I'll talk to you
Not
offline
next
about that.
23rd is this current Rotary year.
Yeah, you're right, but I'll talk to you offline about that.
Any other questions, comments?
Max, I have a comment. Some
Sure.
of you may have trouble accessing Rotary.org or Club Runner for that matter. If you do, you need to get a hold of Pam Blankensee, and in the next few seconds, I will put her email address in the chat room for you.
Also, John, if you call the RI main number, they have fantastic help and support if you have any questions. And just to reiterate what Max mentioned, there are some, if you haven't been on that learning site in a year, you won't believe the difference. It is really, really greatly improved. There are all kinds of online training for whatever position. So if, let's say you have a treasurer that has never done it before, well, there's a session for your treasurer or your membership chairman, et cetera, as well as for you as presidents. So don't overlook that, and do take advantage of it, because it really, really will be beneficial for your year as president.
Right. Any other questions that we might have?
I thought Joe Camarina had a question. I saw his hand up a minute ago.
I did have a question. My question just basically was the World Polio Day. Does Rotary International have a short video that is available for us to present to our clubs this week?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they do.
And where
Again,
would
go
I
to go to the RI website, and you can find it there under Brand Central, I believe, is where it will be. But if not, you can do a search, or again, pick up the phone, call them. They have many really great videos, and that's another little tip. Somebody told me a long time ago, before I was president, always have a video ready in case your speaker doesn't show up. And RI has some really great ones. Some clubs show them before the meeting, and there are a lot of really great inspirational videos.
Catherine and Beverly, is there anything relating to that you'd like to add? Catherine is our current year trainer, and then Beverly will be next year. So any other information? I saw, Catherine, that you put a link in the chat box.
There are 3 videos on that site, as well as if you do Google it, there's a lot, but those are the most current ones.
Very good.
Is it Plano East that has the the video for Darren Collins' work in Hand Up?
Yes.
Because that's another good program to keep in mind.
John, why don't you, for those who may not be familiar with Darren, why don't you give a little synopsis of what he's doing?
Well, I'll try. Darren is a Rotarian from this area. I think DeSoto is his club.
Yes.
And he's been over in Kenya, helping people, the kids there, understand better what the AIDS endemic is about, and getting kids to think more seriously about health issues that would keep them safe from not only AIDS but other things too. And he's been so successful over there that the government has actually contracted with him to do filming, where he can create films and then use them over there to help explain to kids these various health issues. And he's from this area. We're very proud of him, and he has a film that can be used as a program at any one of our clubs.
He occasionally does sign in at our roundtables, and Beverly had him do a presentation at her virtual conference this past summer. So you might even be able to get him to do the program virtually for you instead of just using the video.
He loves doing that. And I will tell you that what's exciting about his work right now is that realizing the unsanitary conditions that they have to put up with on a day-to-day basis. And when COVID began hitting, it wasn't even in Nigeria as an epidemic yet, but he knew that that was coming, and certainly America was struggling with that. Darren worked with the government, as John said. They put together a hand washing and sanitation video. The beauty of that is not only is the government helping them distribute and getting the word out, and Rotary's name and brand is everywhere on that video. The most exciting thing is UNICEF picked it up. And so here's our DeSoto Rotarian doing amazing work against COVID and against or helping teach young children about hand washing. And so it's exciting to go with that journey with Darren, and he really is a good speaker. He will regale you with probably pictures of wild things that walk past his hut as he's talking. And and the nice thing is the time zone difference for most of our clubs, it works out real well. For our district conference, I think he stayed up till 2 a.m., but he still did it for us. So I highly encourage that particular program.
And he's a bit of a magician too.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I very much appreciate all of you participating today, taking the time out of your day. I promised to keep it under an hour, and I think we've achieved that. So thank you. If there's anything that we can help you with, reach out to us. And we'll be sending you a recap of the things we talked about so that you can mark your calendar, start your planning, and we're going to have a phenomenal year next year. Thank you
Max,
all. And Beverly? Oh,
I should have said this a while ago. You had alluded to this, but I just really, truly want to invite our president-elects, if there is an area that you feel uncertain about and want to make sure that during your pets, it is covered, or assembly, it is covered, would you please highlight that to either Max, John, her aide, or certainly me, and most of y'all have my email too, so that we can design a training that really hits your needs, not just what we're supposed to cover. We want to make sure that it's personalized for 5810. So let us know.
Bev, just a quick question on that. I really enjoyed, I got to go to PETS last year. Are you just basically also extending invites to all those individuals that led the breakout sessions, or how's that looking at the moment? Just curious. Like, I thought some of those breakout sessions were fantastic. Just curious how that was shaping up.
We are just now in our planning stages. And so Max and I have not set down how that format, but we will definitely want to do some breakout sessions. It may mean more time investment, and I'm concerned because you all already have one full week, but we will keep that in mind. So thanks for that suggestion. Thank you, Calvin.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Calvin, if there's some specific speakers that you'd like to hear again, shoot those names to Beverly or myself.
I'll go back and look at the notes. I like the idea that we could kind of take a look at what we, maybe our gaps are personally, or what we don't know as much about. I think I went to a diversity breakout session. I'm have to go back and look at my notes, but I like the idea that we could kind of go pick and choose what we thought was appropriate for us. I went to one that was, man, I forgot his name, but it's kind of that introduction to Rotary history. That was
Rotary
nice.
Basics. George
Rotary Basics. I
Rachevsky.
was pretty new at the time, so I just like the idea that we could pick and choose a little bit.
I am
Those were
confident.
probably,
Go ahead.
were those
Max.
the Thursday evening sessions that
Yes.
you went to? So those sessions, I don't recall specifically which ones are going to be offered this time, but those additional training sessions are going to be at the beginning of each evening. Like they might even be 5:30ish. I need to look back on the calendar for when they're scheduled, but they're having some of those spread out each of the weekdays. So that's where it's going to be a little bit different than that. All righty. Anybody else? One last shot at it? If not,
Thanks, Max.
I'll
for
go
putting this
ahead
all
and
together.
end the meeting. And again, thank you all for your great participation and look forward to seeing you again.
Congratulations to you all.
Cheers.
And for those that are still on, I am going to officially end it now too.